Hey guys, I wanted to give you a little bit of insight on the structures that go behind building a website. This is super important. I'm talking mostly to you fence guys out there. I know that structure really matters, right? In your fence builds, it matters, but in your business, it matters. In your website, it matters. So you know how important a good structure is to your business and to your marketing. So just a quick rundown. I'm not gonna nerd out on any of these things. Just gonna highlight this stuff for you guys so you can catch the highlights on this. If you have any questions, drop them below. More than happy to answer any questions you have. But I think it's important before making a decision on who to go with or what agency to go with or what type of website to build, that you understand a little bit about the structure of the different options there are out there. So I'm gonna go over the top ones and we'll kind of go through those just to kind of look and see so you guys have a real picture of what's going on. First of all, there are according to Google's AI overview, there are over 1.13 billion websites on the internet right now. So if you read that, that's a lot of internet, that's a lot of websites. Active websites, so actively being used and managed, looks like 200 million. That's only about 18% that are active websites. And it says that new websites, approximately 10,500 new websites are created every hour. That's pretty fascinating. So with all these new websites and the new things that are happening, it's always great to try to stay in that upper crowd, and choosing the right structure for your websites is super important for you to do that. The reason why these structures are performing in the top tier is not just because they're easy to use, but it's also easy for Google to find them. So when they're ranking in the top 1,000, that means that Google really enjoys those websites. They're easy to navigate, and they're ranking in the top 1,000. Imagine ranking in the top 1,000 of 1.13 billion. That's pretty huge. So let's walk through them real quick, and I'm gonna kind of go. I'm gonna show you this. This tool is available to anybody out there. You can just go to Built With, and you can do some research for your own if you want to take a look and see, some of the same things that I'm going over here. But Squarespace, they're out here. There's a lot of people that may choose to use Squarespace. If you do, you can look right here. It shows you up to date in the top 1,000 websites out there on the internet. 0 of them are currently using Squarespace. Also, I like to look and see the total live websites that are being used by this platform. 88,000 compared to how many websites there are out there is pretty low. So I would say Squarespace is probably one that you want to stay away from. Also, to know about Squarespace, if you use that platform, you won't be able to migrate your website to another place. Squarespace is a proprietary type of system, and so that website would not be able to be moved if you chose to move it later on. GoDaddy Airo. GoDaddy thought it was a great idea to kind of bump up their builder and have a better builder and using AI, and there's a lot of people, because of the trends of AI and the hype and the catchiness of AI, that people are starting to put that into play. So GoDaddy jumped on that bandwagon, said, hey, let's build a web tool that works like that. And it really hasn't taken off yet. So in the top 1,000, they have one website that actually is in that top 1,000. Total live GoDaddy Airo projects is 4 million. And probably because of the ease of just launching. So it doesn't matter what it looks like, just get it out there. That's an easy way to do it, and GoDaddy Airo makes that certainly easy way. They also make it kind of easy to duplicate. So anytime I see an agency that's using GoDaddy Airo, those websites tend to look a lot alike because they're basically taking one template and just kind of duplicating, mass producing those. So let's jump into Duda. So Duda is a CRM, a CMS, content management system. They've been around for a while, but it looks like it didn't really take off until 2017, 18. But even today, they only have 5 websites in the top 1,000, and looks like they have just less than 1 million on active use projects. A lot of agencies use Duda because it is an easy platform to build on, but it's got some structural issues that make it a little bit tricky for Google to index and things like that and mismanage. It's also a little bit harder to take over a project that's on Duda because you have to kind of get used to that operating system and how that works. So let's jump over to Wix. I'm sure you guys have seen commercials. If you haven't, you probably will, about Wix. Wix does make it very easy to launch a website in the same way, type of GoDaddy Airo type of thing. It does help you launch a website very quickly, and it looks like they only have about 12 in the top 1,000 across the internet. And they do have, 8,600,000 websites. But the thing about Wix too is they're also proprietary. So if you're building on Wix, just keep in mind that you're not going to be able to take that website with you. If you leave Wix, that website stays with them. You can't move it or migrate it, okay? The next one is ASP.NET. This is used by a few agencies out there, and it's definitely seen its peak. At its peak, it was looking at 144 in the top 1,000, but because of the clunkiness of the code that has to be installed and used, and also because it's extremely difficult for you to manage. Generally, you need someone with some coding knowledge in order to manage ASP.NET projects. So it does make it a little more difficult. You can see that they really have dropped, and I mean it's just dragging down. So, but even here, so let's see here, they're 143, so that's not too bad. They actually went up a little bit as far as their top 1,000. They're in 151. So, however, again, my caution is if you are having a website built in ASP.NET, just keep in mind that that's going to take a lot of coding, and it quite possibly means that you might be kind of cornered into keeping whoever this built this website. You'll have to stay with them in order to get this done. Most people don't offer ASP.NET, so that's one thing to keep in mind. Looks like they have total live. Actually, it's less than Wix. 4 million, and may as well call it 4.5 live projects. And it looks like that has dipped quite a bit. So, in their heyday, it looks like they were at 14 million. And I think more people are seeing the complexity, and they're leaving the platform in order to build websites that are easier to manage and maintain. And lastly is WordPress. So, WordPress has got 35 million live projects. It's pretty awesome. Now, some people could argue that that's because it's easier to build on WordPress, and WordPress is also super flexible. So there's lots of technologies that work within WordPress. So there's also that flexibility. And if you look at the top, 1,000 websites in the world on the internet, 248 of those are WordPress websites. So it's not all a hype about the website, about WordPress being easier to use or easier to launch, and they launch and fail. These don't launch and fail. These launch and grow, and the numbers don't lie here. So looking at these numbers, you can definitely see which crowd works for you. So you can look and see which one you feel like would work best for your structure, for your company. And again, we're talking about structure and foundation of a website, and where do you want to grow? How do you want to grow? Those types of things, that all needs to be taken into consideration before you choose which structure to use. All right, guys, let me know if you have any questions about this. I'm more than happy to dive into them and talk about this a little bit further. I just thought this was interesting, wanted to share.